I'm just amazed by the guys. You know how they, regardless of what happens, the outcome, they're either happy or they're mad, but they learn to put it behind them.
Definitely a lot more happy today this week after a big win on Sunday. Welcome into Teal, the show. It is a Victory Monday episode after the Jaguars pulled off a big win against the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. Now, before we get to all of the celebrating and positives from Sunday's win, there was one thing that kind of gave Jaguars fans a reason to hold their breath a little bit. Travis Etienne left the game early with a foot injury, never returned. Good news is Doug Peterson says Travis is just fine.
He's gonna be okay. He just got rolled up on his surgically repaired foot. He was good, got his treatment today, and and it's more to sometimes peace of mind with players, especially coming off of a repair, like that. Just rest their minds a little bit that everything's gonna be okay moving forward.
Well, with Travis Etienne standing on the sideline, Trevor Lawrence able to go out there and have what's probably the best game of his career, leading the Jaguars to that big win, the touchdown in the final seconds of the game, plus the two-point conversion that gave the Jaguars the lead. Doug Peterson loves the growth that he's seen from Trevor Lawrence from the beginning of the year to now.
He played well. He played tough, played smart, took care of the football, other than the one, strip sack there at the end, towards the end, late in the fourth quarter. But I thought he played really well. Made some really big throws. Took a step in the right direction. As I mentioned after the game, and great for his confidence. Obviously, a win like that and the way we won, I think can just build more confidence within the team.
After pulling off a big win like this one, it's easy to understand why the Jaguars locker room is supremely confident right now. This is a confidence-building kind of win. But the thing about this team is they never lost the confidence. Early on in the season, we were talking about how confident this young team is, their belief in Doug Peterson. But even when they went on that stretch of losses, this team has never flinched. And now, maybe that confidence and playing smart football is finally coming together, which could be a little bit of a perfect storm.
Yeah, I think the guys have believed all along that they're a good football team. It's just one little thing here or there that's kept us from winning some of these games. But I believe they believe in themselves. They believe they're a good football team. I remind them of that, right? But I don't have to remind them all the time. They believe that. Yesterday was a great example. The excitement on the sideline, the enthusiasm on the sideline, there at the end is. It's just what you want, and that's something, again, that can propel you, the rest of the year.
If the light is finally coming on for this group, it should be a fun end to the season. This team still believes they can make a run at the playoffs. They're going to have to win a few more games if they're going to make that happen. We'll talk about it coming up after the break when Teal the Show returns. Welcome back into Teal the Show. It's time to bring in 1010XL's Frank Franchi. Frank, Sunday was a big win, and when I say big win, this is the first time in Jaguars franchise history that they've won a game like that, so definitely huge. They've had 184 cracks at it, and this is the one win. So 183 losses before Sunday, where they're down 7 points in the final 2 minutes of the game, and they finally got their first win. It took 184 tries for the Jaguars to get a win like that.
It's an amazing stat, isn't it? I don't think anybody had heard that stat. I had never heard that stat before. So all the numbers add up. But Jamal, what's even bigger than that is what it means for this team and this quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, who brought him back, and this team that found a way to beat a good team now. The Ravens are good. They're always good. They're a traditionally good team, and the Jags found a way to beat them. Trevor Lawrence was so good in this game. I think this could really jumpstart them. I thought it was such a significant win, about as much of a feel-good win as this team's had in a long, long time.
All right, Frank, I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, and you said you'll take anything. Let's get weird here. This could be the jump start for them. Maybe. We brought up that 1996 team once before, and the parallels are all there still. This is the same team, the 96 team that made a run at the AFC Championship game. This team, before the bye week, 3 wins. The 96 team, before the bye week, 3 wins. Mark Brunell was in his second year with the Jaguars in 1996. Trevor Lawrence in his second year with the Jaguars now. The thing that jump-started the 96 team's run to the playoffs, a win over the Baltimore Ravens, Frank. I'm just saying it's starting to feel like maybe, just maybe, if you want to get weird, history could repeat itself.
You asked me that a few weeks ago, and I kind of dismissed it. It feels different this time, doesn't it? It does feel. I think this team feels better than the team felt the last time you asked me the question. That was a good Jaguars team yesterday, man. They were legit. And yeah, I think now as you look at the schedule, yeah, I think there's some games they can go win. We'll see if it happens or not. But yeah, the point you're making is whether it turns out the way 96 did or not, and I was there at all those games in 96, Jamal, but whether it turns out that way or not, there's momentum that makes it feel like it could. That, I think, is your point, and I agree with it. It feels there's some real momentum in that building. You could feel it on the sidelines. I was in that locker room. I was with Doug a little bit after the game. You could really feel this around that team yesterday more than I have in a long time. So we'll see. They look like a darn good football team yesterday. I think that's the point.
And you know who looks like a really good player? Trevor Lawrence. It's probably the best game of his career. I don't think there's much argument around that. That last-minute drive to go down and win it, the two-point conversion. Some really high-quality throws there, Frank. I know you never wavered on your confidence that Trevor Lawrence was going to be a good player. I can't say the same thing, and I know there are a lot of people at home that were a little worried too. But it looks like maybe the light switch is finally coming on for Trevor Lawrence. I feel like we've been saying that for the last 3 weeks in a row.
And the same thing I have said all along on this one, Jamal, is he just got here. I think that's what we want it so badly for him, for the team, for us as fans or media. We forget he just got here. 2 years, he's 23. He just turned 23. 2 years ago, he was playing in college. Last year was a lost year. He's in a brand new offense with a brand new coach. Playing quarterback in the NFL is hard. And I think he's right on schedule. Heck, he might be ahead of schedule. 16 touchdowns and 6 picks now. And again, 2 of those picks were Hail Marys at the end of the game. I think he's playing as well as any quarterback's playing right now. I'm so excited about him. The other thing is some receivers stepped up. Zay Jones really stepped up. They needed somebody to make a play or 2 or 3 other than Christian Kirk, and Zay Jones has done that. So, yeah, everything was clicking for that offense when it had to be yesterday.
Speaking of guys stepping up, how about the running back, JaMycal Hasty, stepped up after Travis Etienne left the game. During the bye week episode, Frank, we sat here and we kind of talked about how the Jaguars needed someone to step up to take some of the pressure off Travis Etienne. The rushing game wasn't there on Sunday, but Hasty still found a way to make some big plays for this Jaguars offense.
You know, he's pretty good in space, isn't he? That's the one thing we learned about JaMycal Hasty is when he's in space, he caught the ball along the right sideline for the touchdown. There's other times he made catches and made the first man miss. I think what he's going to round into is a bit of a third down back. If you notice, even before Etienne got hurt, Jamal, right out of the gate, second or third play, once they went to a spread third down offense, he was in the game. I think you're going to see Travis Etienne as their every down back. I think JaMycal Hasty is going to evolve into their third down back. I now think Darrell Henderson, who they have now, will probably be the third back and will probably be the downhill runner when Etienne's not in the game. So I think the room got a little bit better. Not just because Henderson got here, because Hasty started to emerge a little bit. He's a good player in space, and I think he's going to be their third down back.
On the other side of the ball, we saw the Jaguars defense make some changes going into this game. Chad Muma got the start. Devin Lloyd still played a big role, but he was coming off the bench a little bit more. But the biggest change that I think had a big impact on the game was moving Andrew Wingard into a rotational role on this defense as they went with a 3-safety look. It helps with the way the Ravens play offense that enables you to kind of do some of those things. But Dewey came up big for the defense.
No question. He's a guy that's waited his turn. There's a guy, a lot of times when Wingard went into the game, fans goes, oh, no, the backup's in. He's not as good as the other guy. And this guy waited his turn, kept coming to practice, kept working hard over all these years. And you better believe he's a tough physical player, man. He knocked that ball out, which was a big play. So he certainly is that. Jamal, the other thing that really mattered is Chad Muma starting allowed Foye Oluokun to line up more quickly. In the past, Devin Lloyd wasn't sure where to line up. So Foye Oluokun had to line him up a lot and then had to race back to his spot. It's not a coincidence that with Muma starting and having a better feel for where to line up, Oluokun had by far his best game as a Jaguar. I mean, one of the best games of his career, a record-setting game. Oluokun was that much better playing next to Muma than he has been playing next to Devin Lloyd. Now, that doesn't mean they've given up on Devin, but right now Muma helped make that difference for Oluokun as well.
Frank, I want to take that a step further even. I was impressed that I saw Chad Muma in his first start helping some of the defensive linemen get lined up himself. when you have a rookie that it's his first time really getting a larger role increase, and he's out there taking some of the pressure off Foye because he knows where to be, but then taking some of the pressure off of Foye because he knows where everybody else needs to be too, that's a guy that has command of this defense. He's confident. He knows what he's being asked to do, what other guys are being asked to do. I think Chad Muma is going to be a really good player.
I do too, and he played every snap. By the way, he played every snap. He went from being a backup to a guy that played every snap, and so I think he's going to be a really good player too. And don't give up on Devin Lloyd now. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play more outside, maybe in space, maybe as a blitzing pass rusher. I think they're going to do some different things with him, Jamal. They're not giving up. He's a first-round draft pick, and he had a great first month of the season. I mean, he played fantastic. He's spinning a little bit right now, but I haven't given up on 33. But it's good to see Muma, I agree with you, play as well as he did.
All right, Frank, I know this is a Victory Monday episode, and we were talking about how great the win over the Ravens is and what it could mean for the future, but ultimately it will mean absolutely nothing if the Jaguars don't follow up with another win or at least another strong performance this week against Detroit. Really good teams win games that they should win. And ultimately, if the Jaguars want to be a team that's making a run at the playoffs, this is a game that they have to win.
Yeah, I don't know that any one game is like that, but yeah, 2 of the next 3, 3 of the next 5, they got to start winning. You're right about that. They're on the cusp of being eliminated, yet they're back in it at 4-7. Detroit's a pretty good team now, Jamal. They've won their last 3 games until Thanksgiving, and then the Thanksgiving Day game, they gave the Bills all they wanted. So they're playing really well the last 4 games. And they've got a long week to prepare now. They've got more preparation time than Jacksonville does, and they're at home. This is not going to be an easy game. So I don't know that I'm going to put it in must-win category yet. I don't know that the Jags have gotten there. I think these two teams, they're both 4-7. One of them's at home. One of them has a long week. I don't know that I'm going to say must-win. But, yeah, if they're who we think they are, they'll go up there and play very well against the Lions. At the very least, they'll make an awfully good game. So I think they might win the game. But the Lions are pretty good. I wouldn't overlook them.
Definitely not an easy game, but if the Jaguars want to keep saying, well, all of our goals are in front of us, we want to make this run toward the playoffs, it's one that you got to have because they did dig themselves in a big enough hole that every loss says, are you still even mathematically eligible to make the playoffs? So if they're going to make a run like they think they can make, this one's a big one. They have to go out there and get it because you got the Cowboys coming to town, and that Cowboys team has looked really good.
Toughest game is the one in between those two. You got to go to Nashville.
Right.
This team has not played very well against the Titans on the road, and then after that, Dallas comes in. So you're right. Hey, look, we talked about this. You and I did. This is a tough stretch. It was a tough 4-game stretch. Baltimore, at Detroit, at Tennessee, home against Dallas. A tough 4-game stretch. Some people didn't think they'd get any of them. Well, guess what? They already got the first one, and they're playing really well. Here's the thing. If Trevor Lawrence outplays the opposing quarterback, you got a heck of a chance to win. Well, that's what he's got a chance to do the next 2 weeks for sure. Dak Prescott's pretty good. We'll see. But the next 2 weeks, Trevor can outplay the opposing quarterback, and that really helps you win these big games.
All right, one thing before we wrap up, Frank. When we sat here on the bye week episode, we had ESPN's Mike DiRocco with us, and we asked for our second half predictions, and all of us kind of spouted out some different games. Mike said that he thought the Jaguars would win 3 games down the stretch, and he said it would be the 3 games that none of us expected. And I quote, he said they would beat the Ravens, they'd beat the Cowboys, and they'd go into Nashville and beat the Titans. Well, apparently 1/3 of what he said is already right, so we'll have to see if maybe Mike already knew something that the rest of us didn't know yet. So I told him that I'd mention him and give him his credit, and there's your credit, Mike.
D-Rock gets it. D-Rock deserves the credit. D-Rock's an all-time good guy. Let me say this. If they're good enough to beat the Ravens and to go on the road and beat Tennessee and come home and beat Dallas, then they're good enough to keep winning, Jamal. That's the whole point. We're going to learn a lot more about them in this Detroit game. And to your point a moment ago, look, no one's blown them out. Even Kansas City, that's the only double-digit loss they've had, and they were right in that game. Every other game, they've been ahead in the fourth quarter, the losses, and it got away from them late. So here's what we do know. They're going to be in these games. Trevor's playing at a great level now. They figured out the defense. It's a little more of a zone look now. They don't kind of know who they are defensively. All the young players, Muma and Lloyd and Trayvon and Luke Fortner, the center, they're all now in the second half of their first season, so they don't feel like rookies anymore. It's a real good time for the Jags to strike. No question about that.
Should be a fun end to the season. Thanks for being here, Frank, and thank you at home for tuning in. We'll talk more about the Jaguars matchup with the Lions on Friday's episode for Teal the Show, but that'll do it for tonight. Good night.